Hey, yeah, I've got some bike locks here, Syneco Bicycle Lock. These locks, they're fairly cheap and might be able to cut through that fairly easy with a cutting tool. But for a cheap lock, they're okay. I wouldn't use them on anything except something that was really cheap. But to decode these, it's quite hard. The indirect method will work, and I've talked about the indirect method in a lot of my videos, but you have to pull so hard and you have to have really strong fingers to turn the wheels to be able to determine what's going on for the indirect method to work. And you'd have to be quite strong and quite strong fingers. You'd maybe if you've do a lot of rock climbing or something like that, you'd be all right. So this method I'm going to use here is going to be slightly easier than that, but you still will need to be a little bit strong and a little bit strong fingers. So these locks, I've got 3 of them, two black and a green, and they've already been set to combinations that I do not know, and it's not 0, and so this is what you do. So I'm pulling, and I'm trying to pull along, not trying to pull at an angle, trying to pull along, and I have to wear gloves because putting tension on here, some of the wheels are stiff and you will get blisters if you're not careful. So I'm just going to turn, with this lock, I mean, you could turn any of the wheels to try and find a position where it lurches into a number, but on these locks, it's this third wheel, 1, 2, third wheel, that seems, if I tension, and then as I'm tensioning, constant tension, if I'm turning, okay, it's sort of lurched, it lurched into 3, where it sort of went in there easy, and when it lurched into there with tension on, I can turn it out of that number. It doesn't want to come out of that number very easily. With these locks, it'll either be 3 or 5 away on the other side, which is 8. So I'm going to put on tension. That comes out easier, I think. So I'm going to put it back to 3. Yeah, I'm liking 3. Okay, all these locks, it's a third wheel that responds. If I tried it with some of the other wheels, I'd just keep on turning and I wouldn't notice anything at all. Okay, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to try one of the other wheels. I'm going to still pull, and I'm going to try and turn this wheel. I'm not only just turning it while I'm having constant tension, I'm also pulling the wheel this way a little bit as I'm turning, right? So I'm pulling it this way and turning, as well as pulling. It's quite an art to do all these things at once. And yep, getting nothing there. So I'm going to try one of the other wheels. I'll try this one. Make sure these other wheels don't turn. And I'm putting constant tension, pulling tension as I'm doing this. Nothing with that one. And now with this one, I'm going to pull, I'm going to turn it and push this way at the same time. Nothing. So what I'm going to do, I like that this is 3 on the third wheel. That's already cut our numbers down dramatically. I mean, I could spend time and brute force the rest because I know the first one's 3, but I'm not going to give up. Now that we've got this one in, it will make the other ones, the other gates more obvious, but since I'm not feeling anything, I'm going to resort to the indirect method now. Okay, on 0, does that make the second wheel tight? If I pull constant tension, and I'm going to just turn it one full time round, back to 0 again. Okay, so it's got that much tension, not very much tension. I'm going to turn it to 1, pull again. As I'm pulling, I'm turning all the way around, just to see if that's tightened things up. No. What about 2? Has that tightened the second wheel up while I'm tensioning it? No, it's just free. I'm going from 0 all the way round to 0, so it's a fair test. I'm going to test everything, so that's it, all the same. That might be a little bit tighter actually on 3. Maybe 9. Let's compare that with 0 again. Yeah, that's fairly easy to turn around. But 9 is tighter, a little bit tighter. Now, if it's not 9, it'll be 5 away, which would be 4. And I'll just double check 4. I don't think it's as tight as 9. Yeah, 9 is tighter, I think so. Now I think it's 3 here and 9 here. So now, hopefully that's in the right position, that 9 and that 3. Can we go back to our method of turning and pulling and see if it lurches into a gate? So I'm going to pull the lock open, as if, constant tension. I'm going to be turning this and pulling at the same time. It's not obvious. It's not obvious. So I'm going to try and pull and do the same with this one. It's not obvious. So what I'll have to do is resort to the indirect method again. Okay, so we've had to use the indirect method for this one. We didn't have to for this 3, but we had to for the 9, and we're going to have to do it for this one as well. So on 0, if I pull, how tight does this wheel feel? Feels fairly tight. I'll put it to 1. I'm looking for things to tighten up. Just testing it another time. I'm putting constant tension as if I'm trying to pull the lock open. since there's only 2 left, this is in a way brute forcing the last 2, you see. So I'm pulling, this is tighter. Yeah, I could tell it was tighter. Okay, so the combination is 7349. I'm going to try another one just to prove that that wasn't a fluke or just an anomaly about that particular lock. This has been set to a combination I don't know as well, and it's not 0. I'm going to try the exact same thing, tensioning it, and this third one, okay, sort of lurched into 5. If I'm pulling hard, I mean, it goes up and down, but it doesn't want to come out of that number very easily at all. I can check 5 away. Now that comes out easier. So I'm happy with 5. So already I know that one number of the combination. Okay, I'm going to try and go to this one. I'm not, maybe 9, I'm not sure, it's not obvious. So I'm going to try these 2. I'm going to do a trick where I'm going to turn both of them at the same time. That trick didn't work. I'm going to try one at a time. Yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm going to resort to the indirect method again. So for this third wheel, it's quite quickly to find what it is. And once it's put in there, then that enables us to do the indirect method more easily than if we didn't have that set. So because we wouldn't have to pull as hard. So I'm not just pulling medium tension. See, the second wheel is this tight all the way around to 0 again. Let go of the tension, put it to 1, tension again. That hasn't tightened things up. That hasn't tightened things up. Remember, I'm pulling. So I'm going to pull again and turn. You get quite good at pulling and turning. This seems tighter. This seems tighter on 3. No. I'm just double checking the rest. No. No. Maybe a little bit tight on 8. So which is tighter, 3 or 8? Go to 3, pull. Okay, that's fairly tight. And on 8, which is 5 away from 3, pull and that's fairly tight too. So which do I choose, 3 or 8? I don't know. I might leave it on 3. I can always come back to it. Okay, so now do I get any joy with pulling and seeing if these lurch into anything? Maybe 8. I have to try that again. Or 3. Yeah, maybe 8. I like 8. I'm just going to try and, since I've only got one wheel left, I'm going to try and see if any of these numbers work. No, instead of 3, I'm going to try 8 because that was our other possibility. and it's open. Okay, so that's another one down and one left to go. Okay, it's not zeros, and I'm going to pick on the third wheel again. I'm going to quickly get this in. There, it's lurched into 7. I felt something on the shackle. The lock sort of opened slightly when it went into 7. While I'm tensioning it, I can't turn it out of 7. Okay, so I like 7. Now I'm going to see if we can turn one of the others. Not obvious. I'm going to try the indirect method to try and get this first wheel. So on 0, it's this tight, not very tight. On 1, not very tight. 2, no, not tight, under tension. 3, I'm pulling each time, remember? No. Oops. Be careful that I'm not moving the numbers. Some tuning. Maybe a little bit on 4. Oh, 7's tightened up. 7. Just check the rest. Oops. 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 So 7 tightened up, and 5 away from 7 is 2. Just double check 2. No, that's not 2. Let's go back to 7. Yeah, that has tightened things up. Okay, it's pretty obvious to me that under tension, when the first wheel's at 7, the second wheel tightens up. So now I know this wheel's at 7, this wheel's 7, and I mean, we could just brute force. The thing, by the way, when you're testing these numbers, if you're not pulling straight, then you could go right past the combination and it won't open and you won't think it's right. So you have to not pull at an angle, you have to try and pull straight. Okay, so first I'm just going to see if this can. Now I've got these 2 in gates. This one might fall onto a gate now. If I that's not very obvious. Just check one more time. Maybe 7. Oh, maybe 8. 8. It doesn't want to come out of 8 when I'm pulling, especially when I'm pulling I'm pulling with my hands the lock this way, the wheel I'm pulling this way, as well as turning it. And when I do that, it really doesn't want to come out of that gate. So I know that it's 8. So now I'm just going to try each of the second wheel, and it's open. Okay, so that's how to decode these locks. I couldn't use just one method. I had to use a combination of methods to get into these locks, because even though they're on the cheaper end, they were quite difficult to decode. Thanks.